Good day, everyone. It's Sam again with bookkeepers.com, and I'm joined today by the lovely Margie Remmers Davis, who is the founder and CEO of Akadian Accounting Education, formerly known as Fast and Easy QBO. Many of you know who they are, but for those who don't know who they are, Akadian offers training on how to do all things accounting, but their chief bread and butter is passing the QuickBooks certification exams, as well as training in all other areas of accounting and bookkeeping. And today we want to talk about how Akadian really does the Lord's work in helping you pass your QBO exams with one trustworthy system. But before we jump into that, Margie, I just want to hear a little bit of background on you and how you came to start Akadian.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the introduction. I am delighted to be here. And yes, absolutely, we got our start and we became famous for our certification courses. So my story is that I was thrust into the world of bookkeeping when my husband had a midlife crisis and decided that he didn't want to be married anymore. I had been a stay-at-home mom for 20 years, and we had gotten married later in life. So he already owned the house. Overnight, I was blindsided, and overnight, I lost my home, my family, my marriage, my retirement, my source of income, like just boom. And it was a nightmare, to put it lightly. I was 50 years old. So I was like trying to rebuild my life and what do I do? I don't know what to do. So I started by trying to get back out and trying to get a job because I'm still smart and, I still am technical and I thought I'm still the same person. But it turns out that when you are a middle-aged woman with a 20-year gap in her resume, people aren't all of that interested in you. And so, like so many women in my situation, I turned to bookkeeping. And I know that you have tons and tons of students. And I know that there are lots of students in your group that have that same story. Like that bookkeeping saved our lives because we didn't have any place else to turn. So like so many of your students or members, I signed up for a bookkeeping program, and the program that I signed up for, the first thing that they told us to do was go and get that QBO certification. And I had, for a second after college, I had been an office manager and I had learned Quicken. And I'd always been good with numbers. I'd managed our daily finances. And so I thought, this is going to be no problem. Like, I don't know QuickBooks Online, but it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. So I hopped in, I started going through the Intuit training, and it was awful. Like it was just so overwhelming and time consuming. It was just reading. I have a brain disorder that makes it difficult for me to learn from reading. It's not a learning disability, but it makes I can't visualize things in my head. So just trying to read all of these words and telling me what to do and whatever, it was just so overwhelming and so awful. I kept thinking I could do such a better job than this. And the reason that I was thinking that is because in my former life, before marriage and kids, I worked for a medical software company and I traveled the country teaching people how to use our proprietary software. I built training programs on teaching software. That was my career. That was what I knew how to do, was how to teach software. And I just thought, this is I could do such a better job, but I couldn't chase that squirrel because I was I had to get my life together, I had to pay my rent, so I just put my blinders on, I powered through, I got my certifications, I got out into the world, and I started meeting other bookkeepers, wannabe bookkeepers, people in Facebook groups, and I just heard over and over and over the same experience that I had, which this does not prepare you for the test, and I do not know anything about QuickBooks Online reading this, and this is so overwhelming. And finally, I couldn't stand it anymore. I was like, fine, I will create a course. So I created a course. I threw it up on the internet and it was an overnight success. Like it was like people, and this is really the thing, is that when people are in pain and you can offer a solution that helps them achieve their goal, gets them out of pain and helps them achieve their goal, like you will make money all day long. And like that's what happened to me. So I initially just created what was at the time the basic level. It's now called level 1. And then people were begging me for an advanced version. And so I created an advanced version. And then people were begging me for payroll. So I created a payroll. And it just snowballed. And we just this year were named on the Inc. 5000, one of the fastest growing companies in America. We're actually number 200, which puts us in the top 5% of all companies in the US, because people love our training programs and they love to learn actually doing versus just reading. So that's my story in a nutshell.
Well, thank you so much. And I hate to use cliches, but that's definitely making lemonade out of lemons. I really... It's terrible to hear the circumstances that led you to this, but I would say that it's exceptional that you took that and the resourcefulness and the prior experience and turning and the opportunity to taking previous skills that you had from medical sales, the expertise in learning QuickBooks, and turning that into a course. That's a really awesome story. Kind of similar to the Bookkeeper launch story in a way, but I think that that really does resonate with our audience, given the fact that it's a lot of people more or less having to pursue bookkeeping or accounting as a field versus taking their time to get into it. So with that being said, mentioning the QBO training that Akadian offers, there's the 3 big exams with QuickBooks, the 2 main ones, and then the payroll exam. And I've heard this complaint so often that QuickBooks training is not very clear, that it's either confusing or it doesn't get you prepared for the robustness of what you'll face in the field. Hopefully that's a word, robustness. But what would you say makes Akadian stand out for the accountant and the bookkeeper that's looking to develop that skill, not only with passing those exams in QuickBooks, but really becoming a master of those softwares?
Yeah. Hands-on practice, hands-on practice, hands-on practice. That is what we are all about. Everything at Akadian, every concept that you learn, you practice, you actually do it. You often hear me say that you can't learn how to ride a bicycle by watching a YouTube video. You have to get on the bicycle and you have to actually do it. You have to do it. You have to have those things, those concepts stick in your brain. Like that is the number one thing that sets Akadian apart. That's why people love us. That's why they can learn so easily and so quickly, because so many people learn by doing. So so we use the sample company, or sometimes called the test drive, that Intuit provides, and you get to click around and you get to actually, whatever concept you're learning, you actually get to see it in action, and it just helps it make so much more sense.
Yeah, I've really found that that's the big thing, is just doing the work itself. I mean, for all the preparedness that people want to have with getting into accounting and bookkeeping, and you should do your homework, so to speak, the academic part of the training, but it's really a job that requires you to do it. You have to go in there and get it back. You have to.
There's no way around it. Yeah.
No way around it. But also how the training maybe has evolved over time. That might be a better way of phrasing it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's a great question. Nobody ever asks me that. So when I first created the course, I didn't know anything. Like I knew how to create and edit videos, and that's what I was going to be doing. And I knew how to create a PDF, which was going to have the instructions for the exercises. But I didn't know, like, how was I going to put it online? How was I going to put it behind a paywall? How was I didn't know any of that. And so I was in BNI at the time, and we had, in our group, we had a tech guy, and I said, hey, can you help me? And so he did. He created, my website was WordPress, and so he signed me up for a thing called MemberPress, I think it was, which just like a paid, use PayPal, and you get behind a paywall, and then, people have access to your stuff. That was the very first course. And I launched that course at the end of August, beginning of September 2 months later, I did not know that you have to recertify every year, that Intuit shuts down and revamps and redoes all of their training and tests. Announced it like maybe a month before and said, okay, as of October 31st, the current testing is going to be gone. The current training is going to be gone, and it's going to be replaced with new training and a new test and everything. I was brand new. I had no idea that this happens every year. And it was so, it was like, okay, you have to remember that my whole thing was based on the fact that Intuit was bad. Well, if they're going to revamp everything, maybe now they're going to be good. Like, I don't know. Maybe I don't have a side hustle. It wasn't a business at the time because bookkeeping was my business, but maybe like this whole extra income stream is gone. So I just waited to see, and then they revamped it, they relaunched it, and it wasn't any better. And so I said, okay, well, I guess I'm going to have to like rebuild. Like, I have to rebuild the course. Like, that's one thing that we here at Akadian, we do every year is we rebuild the entire course to help, like, because we're always helping you pass the current version of the certification. So by that time, it was so popular so fast that I actually had money that I could invest in like a real thing. I assume you know, I don't know if your audience knows about what Go High Level is.
Yes.
So I hired this guy who was friends with the owner of Go High Level, and it was brand new at the time. And he said, oh my gosh, Margie, this new platform is going to be so amazing and it's going to solve all your problems, and I think you should just put everything on there. And I said, okay, fine. So I put all of my courses on there. So that year everything was on Go High Level, and then I hated it so much. It was an early version. Like, it was so bad, but he kept saying it's going to be something. It's going to be, it's going to be something. So I hated it so much that I switched to a different platform. So then I moved it onto Samcart.
Yes.
So Samcart
Yep.
is it's a website, page, and they have like a course, back end. So I put everything on Samcart, but the whole time that I was doing this and I was working with students after student after student, we were always trying to improve it. Like, that's one thing about me is that I never stop. Like, there is no perfection. There is it's always continuous improvement. And at the time, my exercises, like I said, were PDFs. I was doing screenshots of the thing. And so when I was on Samcart, I noted my students needed more reinforcement. Well, actually, no, what happened was, so what actually happened was when I started, I was coaching people on their final take of the exam. So, and with the exam, you get 3 tries. And if they failed the first 2 tries, I knew that it was just because they didn't understand something. They didn't understand the question. They didn't understand. So at the time, I offered coaching. It was for an extra cost. Like, if they needed this for their 3rd try to make sure that they passed, I would sit with them while they were taking the exam. And I'm not going to give them the answers. We're not in the business of helping you cheat. But if they clearly didn't understand a concept, I would stop and I would teach them that concept so that they would get it right. Well, then Intuit changed the rules, the exam rules, saying that you had to take the test unassisted. And I don't know, maybe they found out about me. I don't know. So I was hurdle, but it was also the best thing that ever happened to us. Because, when you're doing one-on-one coaching, there's only so many hours in the day. You can't scale when it's just you and you're just limited by time. And so by Intuit saying, okay, no more, you can't help people pass the exam, I then had to rethink how we teach. And I had to think, okay, if I can't be there as a coach with you, then that means my materials, because we have always had the guarantee that we'll help you pass or your money back. And so I thought, if I cannot be sitting next to them, how can I help them really sink in and really get all of the concepts? And so that was when we developed what we call interactive reviews. Mm-hmm. So the interactive review, so the way that our courses work is that there's a video, that they watch the video, and then there's an interactive review to make sure that they understood what happened in the video. And that has all sorts of fun tools, drag and drop, fill in the blank, crossword puzzle, like all these things that make it sink into their brains. And then, so we added that at that time, always trying to perfect. And then we started using a new tool called Scribe. You may have heard of that, which will take screenshots for you. And that revolutionized us because we used to, I used to have to go grab a screenshot of everything and put it in the document. And now with Scribe, it's just a click. And that means we can have so many more exercises. It also requires that we have a team that's constantly updating them because, as you know, Intuit changes all the time and screenshots change all the time. So that's kind of been the evolution, always iterating, always paying attention to what people need in order to really get the information sink in. Like I said, we're not in the business of helping you cheat. Like we're not just giving you the answers to the test. We're in the business of building elite bookkeepers who actually know their stuff. And this is the benefit, by the way, of having me, who is a trainer, who's I'm not an accountant. I'm just a trainer who's really good at helping people get it. Somebody called me the aha queen of accounting education. Like I'm the one that helps you, like those light bulbs to go on, because I can explain it in a way that makes sense that an accountant, like for them, it's just always like that's the way it is, and that's just the way I was taught, and that, and like, whereas I have to figure out the why behind everything. And it turns into a super powerful program that people love.
Well, what it sounds like in there is that a lot of the changes have been more or less for how the student interacts with the material, the training. But the one thing, whether it is what it is currently or the PDF days, it sounds like you've always been devoted to not just providing wonderful quality training for QuickBooks, but staying ahead of the curve with all the changes that Intuit does. And that, I think, is the biggest key there, because I think everyone can agree in the accounting field that QuickBooks is sort of the devil that you have to do business with. It's not easy, but it's not going anywhere. So the fact that you're getting ahead of the curve there, I think, is very encouraging. The only discouraging part, I think, and this is just joking, is that some of our new students might be saying, darn it, you're not going to help them cheat on the exam. But I'm sure there's a black market for that already. We're not going to encourage that.
There is, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, and I have another question. So you were talking about more or less on your side of the training. Now let's go into the eyes of a student. What is typically going to be the biggest challenge that they face when, we'll parcel it out in two ways, going through the actual QuickBooks training itself and then passing the QuickBooks final? What are the biggest and most common ways that people, before taking your training, of course, that people go about the wrong way or fail or set themselves up for failure?
Yeah. Well, the challenge with going through the Intuit training, well, let me just say the benefit of the Intuit training is that it's free. You get a free account. You have your free training inside the ProAdvisor Academy. And I do have to say that it is now today much better than it was when I first was in there. But it's still just information. It's just like a textbook. It's like going to the public library and trying to learn something just on your own from a book. Okay, that's the difference between, you can do that or you can get a teacher. And a teacher is the one that's going to pull out the information and, again, help it stick in your brain. So that's really the key difference. And, some people, they have to do it the free way because that's their circumstance. Other people are just like, I just want to get it done. Like, help me just get from beginning to end and knock it out. Our level one training takes about 5 hours. You can get your level 1 certification in about 5 hours. Now, that doesn't include test taking time. That's just our videos, our exercises, the reinforcement activities, that kind of stuff. And, if you do that, like, people spend months and months and months studying for the training, and you can knock it out with us in a day. So it just makes a huge difference to have the information pop out on the page. So that's the first thing, is just having it not be a book that you're reading, but having it be like interactive, like we're actually, like as if you're actually working with a teacher. The second thing is that our companion courses focused specifically on the things that you have to know for the test. Okay, so Intuit provides a huge volume of information and only a sliver of it is the stuff that you actually have to know. And if you're wading through, all this material, like it's confusing and it's frustrating. And you're like, okay, just like, what do I need to know? And so that's the other benefit of our courses, is we pull that out. It's like, we know what you need to know for the test. That's what we're going to teach you. My mentor, when I very first got started, and I was considering, building this course, because I saw, so many people are struggling with this. Don't you think it would be good to have a course that actually helped them? And he said to me, well, I've thought about that, but I actually think that it's good for people to struggle. Now, I have to agree that struggle is good in a lot of circumstances. So if you're wanting to lift weights, the struggle of lifting weights, like that is good. Like that's what builds your muscles. The fact that you're pushing against something really hard, that struggle is good. But if you struggle to tie your shoes, or you struggle with opening the door to get in the gym, that doesn't have anything to do with your weight lift. It doesn't have anything to do with so you have to, yes, struggle is good, but it has to be struggle in the right areas. Otherwise, it's just a waste of time and people get frustrated.
I think that's an absolutely great analogy that you just said there, as someone who likes the lifting culture myself.
Oh, yeah.
But the fact is that that getting progressively better at something over time will have struggle inherently. But if you can't even, like you said, put on your gym clothes, put on your shoes, tie your shoes, push the door open, that's, I feel like, what a lot of people going through QuickBooks. And I think that mindset too of you have to struggle with absolutely everything. You struggle, I think, with the things that are meant to sharpen you, but not, you should have training that makes, when you're talking about people starting out without the proper guidance and just getting into QuickBooks and it's just all information, it's going from something that's 2-dimensional to 3-dimensional.
Yeah.
That's where you don't want to struggle, but more of that help that gets you there. That's really insightful. Now, another question, and maybe this is the last one depending on how long it is, but I just wanted to know, where do you see the direction for both QuickBooks and also in response for Akadian?
So I don't think QuickBooks is going anywhere. There are a lot of, bookkeepers and accountants that, that hate it. And there are, there's a mass exodus people talk about, that people are, heading toward these other softwares. But Intuit has, number one, a huge share of the market. It's like 82% of the market they have. So that's huge. That means that the people that you are going to be working with are probably going to have QBO. So that's one thing. The other thing, they've been around so long and they've invested so heavily that in all of the up and coming stuff, all of the AI stuff that is that's in the software, like already, that they're releasing, and they put so much time and money into that. And all of the upstarts, they're coming from behind. So I don't think QBO is going anywhere. I don't think that, I think it's here to stay. There is, however, been a dramatic shift in their education. So right now, one of the benefits of getting your QBO ProAdvisor certification, and Intuit now offers lots of different kinds of certifications. And what we've been talking about today, just to be clear, is the QBO ProAdvisor certification. Yes. So there is level 1, level 2, and payroll. And those certifications qualify you to be listed in the ProAdvisor directory. Okay, and they show up on your profile, and people can find you and know that you're a real person, and know that you actually have the training from QuickBooks. You have that stamp of approval. But Intuit has more certifications that they are releasing that don't have anything to do with the ProAdvisor directory, because the ProAdvisor directory is really just focused on the QBO software, learning the software itself. So they also offer, and they've had this for a long time, but now it's a prerequisite to their latest thing, which is the Intuit Bookkeeping Certification, which is all about bookkeeping and accounting. And then the newest thing is their CAS Foundation certification. Really, I mean, you know this. You know that the button clickers of the world are disappearing. There are people who say that accounting and bookkeeping is going away. It's only the button clicking people that are going away, because that's going to be replaced by AI. It's already being replaced by, outsourced people in India. But the people that are staying are the people that actually know and can advise clients who understand what books good looks like and can have conversations to help actually the clients understand their numbers. That's where the industry is going. And Intuit sees that. So they've recently released a new certification. It's called CAS Foundations, Client Advisory Services. And Jacqueline Anku, who runs the whole training program at Intuit, hinted that there are more CAS certifications coming. So it's their focus is less on the button clicking. In fact, they didn't even update. I was saying how they update their materials every year. They didn't even update it this year. So it's you're being tested right now on all of the old stuff. But the level 1 certification and that bookkeeping certification are now prerequisites for the new CAS Foundation certification. So,
excellent.
Yeah, a lot of changes, but a big shift away from the button clicking and more on knowing what you're doing and being able to advise your clients.
Yeah, and I think that that's just something that people will just, if they haven't embraced it yet, just have to get through their heads. I mean, it should be a help, not a hindrance. I know that everyone, but how many of those tasks that AI will take over are the things that you really don't want to do anyways? So, and it'll free up your mind to find out more big picture.
Yeah.
Well, Margie, this has been very wonderful. I appreciate you for answering these questions.
Yeah.
I do have just one last fun question. What's a little known fact that people, or maybe a hidden talent that you have that most people don't know about?
Oh, well, fun fact is different than hidden talent. So it's not very hidden because I do talk about it in my community. So there are some people that know, but I am a trained opera singer. And So I don't know if that's hidden, but that is a little bit of a fun fact about me. And the other thing that I would say, I usually reserve this for party games because it is a very, no one knows this unless they play this party game for me. So I don't know how far wide and reach this recording is going to go, but I did serve punch. I did serve punch at Bruce Springsteen's wedding.
Wow, that's pretty cool. That's really cool. So you met the boss himself?
I did not actually meet him because he did not get any punch, but I did meet some other members of the band. So
well, that's pretty cool. I mean, not a whole lot of people can say that they were that up close and personal to Bruce Springsteen, and you didn't have to pay to do it. You were getting paid to be up close and personal. Right. Well, Margie, where can people find you? Just wanted to be able to get our audience to look at yours. You do wonderful work, so I just wanted to have people find you.
Yeah. So if you want to connect with me directly, the best place to do that is on LinkedIn. So I'm the only Margie Remmers Davis on LinkedIn, so I'm easy to find. But if you want to join our community and you want to be part of what we have going on, then the best place is to join our Bookkeeping Skills Lab. So this is a free Facebook group that we run that is not like any other Facebook group out there because we actually do trainings inside of this group. You get free courses for participating. I teach a free class every Friday, and it's just a great free way to get exposed. One of the courses that we teach has over 200 free exercises where you can actually go into QBO and practice different things, and that's really the best place to come join us. So
thank you so much. And everyone that's out there, that will all be in the description below. So
yep.
Edit that out. And please subscribe. All this helps us out. And thank you, Margie. And I hope everyone out there has a great day.
All right. You're welcome. Thanks so much for having me. I can't wait to hear your success story.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.